Bring you more on CSU's growing enrollment.
Denver Startup Week is underway and we have all the details.
Then we explore a potential tax increase in Larimer County. All this and more starting on CTV News right now. Good evening, Rams. I'm Marla Lundak, anchoring in place of Christina Lane tonight.
And I'm Edgar Cedillo. Here's what's happening in the news near you. CSU welcomed more than 5,400 freshmen to campus this year, once again breaking attendance records. This is the 11th year in a row that the incoming class had a record-breaking enrollment. High growth levels have led to overcrowding in the residence halls. However, the university is planning to accommodate growth, current and potential growth. The university plans to build a new residence and dining hall complex called Meridian Village, which is set to be completed by 2023.
Researchers at CSU are partnering with 4 other institutions to evaluate water rights. The 5-year project will use a $4.9 million grant to predict what regions will be most impacted by changing water availability under the current water laws. The researchers will also evaluate how changes in mountain snowpack will affect available water.
Denver Startup Week is underway in the capital city, bringing together business leaders, successful startup founders, and aspiring business owners for a week of innovative workshops and sessions. The workshops will focus on a variety of relevant topics for up-and-coming entrepreneurs. CSU is also sponsoring a newsroom base camp, which will give CSU students the opportunity to work and experience and collaborate with Colorado Business Magazine. Startup Week will continue their programming through Friday evening. For more information, you can visit denverstartupweek.org.
Mission Innovation is the first all-female powered design marathon for helping Fort Collins become carbon neutral by 2050. After a 24-hour planning session, teams had to present their ideas to a panel of judges from CSU, the city, and Energy Institute. About 40 women participated in the marathon, and the winning team came up with a plan to apply thermal paint to roofs across the city in an effort to help homes heat and cool themselves naturally.
Larimer County voters will be asked to consider a tax increase this upcoming November. However, the tax increase fees would go towards Larimer County Public Health Program.
This election day, Larimer County is asking voters for a tax increase that would benefit mental health services in the county.
Yeah, the tax proposal is a 0.25% sales tax, so it's 25 cents on a $100 purchase. That will raise about $18 million a year, we predict. That will allow us to provide mental health services all around the county to people currently that are not accessing those services.
The county hopes to build a new facility between Fort Collins and Loveland.
So the commissioners have dedicated a 40-acre piece of that property to be used for this mental health facility. So we're going to be building a facility that will allow inpatient care, short-term intensive treatment for drug abuse, and just a place where folks that don't have access to mental health care can go for when they're having a mental health crisis and be seen right away by staff at the facility.
County officials reached out to local governments in hopes of getting the entire county on board with the proposal.
We worked with every mayor in Larimer County of every one of our cities on a campaign we called Mental Health Matters, and Let's Talk About Mental Health. So that we've had a very intensive community discussion about mental health for the last 2 years. And we've noticed that that has definitely raised the awareness and has changed the environment and hopefully has set the groundwork for us to be successful with our ballot question this year.
If the tax is approved by voters, the county will begin collection on January 1st, 2019.
We plan to be ready to provide services in the community right away, middle of 2019.
Johnson also expects that the county will remain transparent to voters.
There will also be a report issued every year to the citizens about how the money has spent, and maybe even more importantly, measurable objectives and outcomes of what kind of results.
With more community awareness, Johnson hopes the proposal will pass this November.
There is a lot more community awareness of the impacts of mental health, untreated mental health, in our schools, in our emergency rooms, in our criminal justice system.
If you would like more information on Larimer County's mental health master plan, you can visit larimer.org.
Larimer County Commissioner Lou Gator died last week after a decade-long battle with a rare blood cancer. Gator was the first elected to represent District 1 as commissioner in 2010, and he was in his second term in the position. Gator was heavily involved in Fort Collins and oversaw many projects such as the rural broadband effort in Larimer County. Gator also ran for the Republican nomination for Colorado governor this year, but ultimately lost the bid. His family has not finalized memorial services at this time.
A new certificate program called Design Thinking will be offered next semester at the new Richardson Nancy Design Center. The program focuses on problem solving in all situations and will help students better create services and products. Students will also gain experience working with metal, wood, and even virtual reality programming. The final capstone class certificate will allow students to collaborate with industry partners to solve real-world problems.
Have you been to the Career Center? Most students only go to the Career Center during their freshman and senior year, but with new changes coming, students will be there more often. Student-focused services from the Financial Aid Office are moving to the Career Center to better support students. On-campus employment information, job postings, and student trainings are a few of the services that are now being hosted in the center, since they have a larger staff to better assist students on an individual basis.
Our hope is that we're going to see even more students coming in because they'll come to us first just to, hey, how do I find these jobs? But then we can have conversations with them from there about, hey, how do you talk about these jobs to future employers? How do you take your experiences that you're gaining on campus and really articulating those for an internship or a full-time job opportunity after school? So the conversations we've already been having, but we're hoping by actually housing that here in the Career Center, we'll be able to have a lot more, touch even more students and really help them with that holistic kind of career journey that they're on.
For more information, you can visit career.colostate.edu.
Each week, the Employee Appreciation Board chooses an outstanding department on campus to recognize. Employees in each department may nominate their unit for recognition. Nominators are entered for a raffle to win tickets to a CSU football game, and their names remain in the pot until they are drawn for the football season, before the football season ends. The deadline for nominations is the Monday before each home football game. Hopefully we get to see one of our favorite professors on that.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for professors. That's really awesome.
Well, that's all we have for news.
Stay tuned for weather, sports, and entertainment all coming up on CTV.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Good evening, Rams. I'm your weather anchor, Allie Peters, here with your current conditions. We're at a nice 62 degrees here in Fort Collins, and a slight breeze at 7 miles per hour, and your sunset was at 6:52. Hopefully you're able to get out and go enjoy that in this nice weather. Today was a clear day at Colorado State University. The leaves are starting to change, bringing us into fall, but it was still warm enough and sunny enough outside today to enjoy the outdoors, eat lunch outside, and walks through campus are still very pleasant at the moment. Moving in to your overnight lows, down in Telluride it's going to be 36. Down the I-25 corridor, staying in the 40s at 41 in Fort Collins, down to 46 in Pueblo. Over in the Plains, it's 30 in Gunnison, 33 in Vail, and on the west side, 46 over in Grand Junction. Going to tomorrow's forecast, it's going to be a nice 74 degrees with a low of 46. It's one of the last nice days we are going to have when it's sunny, mostly clear skies. Slight breeze again at 7 miles per hour. It's going to be very pleasant in the 70s, and go out and watch your sunset tonight at 6:50 p.m. Tomorrow's overall highs through the state going to be 63 down in Telluride. Looking over at the East Coast, 77 up in Sterling, 70s in Fort Collins and Denver, moving down to 76 down in Pueblo, and over in Lamar it's going to be around 73. Looking at your 5-day forecast, today was a nice 68. Moving in tomorrow at 74. Your warmest day is going to be on Thursday at 82. Take advantage of that because Friday it's going to start getting a lot colder at 59 with cloudy skies. That's all I have for you. I am your weather anchor, Allie Peters, but stay tuned for Sports with Jason.
Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
What's up, Ram fans? I'm your sports anchor, Jason Ortiz, here to break down all the action in CSU athletics. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Last Saturday, CSU took on FCS opponent Illinois State here in Fort Collins. Going into Saturday, the Rams were undefeated on Ag Day, but that streak soon came to an end. Illinois State knocked off CSU 35-19.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but that's a good team, and we didn't play to our best of abilities, for sure. So we just got to go back in this bye week and in the preparation for San Jose and just start from square one, go back to the basics and things like that.
However, on a brighter note for the CSU football team, just in today, wide receivers Olabisi Johnson and Preston Williams have been added to the Biletnikoff Award watch list. The Biletnikoff Award annually recognizes an outstanding receiver in college football. Any player, regardless of position, who catches a pass is eligible for the award. As such, the Biletnikoff Award recognizes the outstanding receiver, not merely just outstanding wide receiver. Last year, star wideout Michael Gallup was a Biletnikoff finalist. Johnson and Williams lead the Rams in receiving. Preston Williams remarkably has 39 receptions and racked up 511 yards through 5 games, whereas Olabisi Johnson has 29 receptions and 436 yards so far this season. When you have two receivers who are this talented and on the field at the same time, it really makes it difficult to cover them both. They complement each other really well, along with the many other receivers that the Rams have. We'll keep you up to date as the season progresses on this award. After looking back at this weekend, the Rams football team doesn't appear in sync. Until they get on the same page, it's unlikely they'll win the next game. Just like Coach Bobo said after Saturday's game, it was an embarrassment for our football team. We're just not very good right now. I'm joined by Luke Zalman of the Collegian. And how's it going, Luke?
It's going good, man. Not going so well for CSU football, though.
Yeah, it's not looking good. And you wrote a piece about the quarterback controversy, and one thing I pulled from that was when you said in both instances when Colin replaced KJ, the only purpose that Hill served was to be a disruptor, and football is a sport where you need rhythm to keep going. So what's going wrong with the CSU offense?
Yeah, it's kind of something I've noticed since my first year here. When I was a freshman, it was between Fatam Bauta, Nick Stevens, and Colin Hill. So Colin Hill was part of that as well. Yeah. And that's kind of when I really noticed that Bobo really doesn't like to settle on a wide receiver that well. It's something that he's brought into this year. After last year, he allowed Nick Stevens to do kind of whatever he wanted with the offense. He was kind of an expert at it, so he let him kind of do, what he chose, and it turned out to be one of their most successful offensive seasons ever. And then this year, for some reason, he switched back to using KJ and Colin, with Colin coming in at very odd times. It's either the drive after a score or the 2 drives after a score, and it just really disrupts the rhythm of KJ, I think.
Yeah, it seems like that Colin really comes in because Bobo wants him to get the playing time. He thinks that Colin is possibly going to be his starter in the future because KJ, since he's a graduate senior. But I think he does come in and disrupt KJ's rhythm a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he's coming off of his second torn ACL. And so, you know, they want to get him snaps, they want to get him in the game, but at the same time, they really need to let him heal. He's coming off 6 months of rehab. That's really not long for a torn ACL, especially your second one. He tore it playing basketball over the summer. And so they really didn't give him enough time. They kind of rushed it. Colin felt that he was okay, given the fact that he had already been through rehab once. But it really hasn't worked out well for them. He's looked very uncomfortable. He's only completed 35% of his passes, which is a really terrible mark, especially in college football against some of the defenses he's gotten to face this year.
Yeah, well, hopefully the team's headed into a bye week, which seems to be coming at a perfect time, allowing the team to recoup and possibly get a starting quarterback starting Mountain West Conference play. So this week, we're back at it again. Triple J Pick'em Challenge. Last week, Thursday Night Sports Anchor Jared Stratton took home the win again. Picked 4 out of 5 right. Monday Night Sports Anchor Jessica Mendoza and myself, we both went 3 for 5. But let's not dwell on the past. We got bigger and better games this week. And we also have a special guest picker this week. So, hey, let's talk a little college football. So first up, we have Ohio State taking on Penn State. And you have Ohio State, I have Ohio State. What do we see in this game?
You know, Ohio State is averaging almost 600 yards a game. That's something that's really hard to overcome, especially for Penn State, who lost Saquon Barkley. They still do have a pretty good quarterback, but I just don't think they're going to be able to overcome that offense this week, especially with Urban Meyer back now.
Yeah, Urban Meyer coming back definitely it makes that offense better, defense better, the whole team in general. You're 4th in the country for a reason, right? So next up, we have Washington versus BYU. And look at that, a clean sweep of Washington. BYU is 20th, Washington's 11th. It could be a good game.
It could be. I see Myles Gaskin really getting it together this week. Jake Browning's been a little disappointing, which is why they haven't really started as well as they would have. BYU really has yet to play many high-level teams, and I think they're almost an overrated type team. Washington also has a number 17 defense in the nation, as well as the number 6 tackler in the nation. So I think that's really going to pay off for them this week.
Let's hope so. Next, we have Stanford and Notre Dame. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a barn burner. What do we got? Number 7 and number 8 going up against each other. We both got Notre Dame taking this one. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think Bryce Love really hasn't been able to get it going this year yet, and I think that's really held Stanford back. They've done semi-well. They almost lost to Oregon last week. Probably should have lost to Oregon last week. So I just don't think that they're going to be able to overcome Notre Dame in their home stadium. I don't really see it this week.
Yeah, if we get the Bryce Love from last year, it might be a different story because the Heisman Bryce Love he's a good running back.
Oh, yeah.
Next up, we have Oregon and Cal. Oregon, they obviously should have beat Stanford. They let that game just slip right through their fingers. But what do you see them doing against Cal?
Well, they have the number 1 NFL draft prospect at quarterback right now, and I really see them being successful this week. Their defense, yardage-wise, is actually just as successful as Alabama. I think the difference is about 7 yards, which is something you wouldn't really think out of an Oregon team, but it's something that they possess, and I really think they're going to be able to take advantage of Cal, despite being on the road.
Yep. I agree, 100%. Finally, Syracuse at Clemson. This, on paper, you might not think it's a great game, but Syracuse coming in 4-0. They knocked off Florida State early in the year. They go to Death Valley and get it up?
In basketball, I would say Syracuse probably has a chance. In football, I probably wouldn't. Clemson has a brand new starting quarterback this week. He's a freshman. Locks and all, he's an amazing quarterback. They think he's probably going to be the number 1 draft prospect of his class. So I really don't see a way that Stanford goes into Clemson and is able to beat Sweeney and that Clemson team, especially with Hunter Renfrow running in the slot.
Yep. Fun fact, Syracuse and Duke ranked in football for the first time ever together.
I believe Kentucky's in there too, which is pretty wild.
3 powerhouse basketball schools in the top for football.
It's almost unheard of.
Yep. So that's it for Luke, and thank you for being on with me today. So we have volleyball. CSU volleyball is 2-0, heading out west to California to take on the Mountain West foes. First stop on Thursday, San Diego, to take on the Aztecs, who on the season are 1-13 and 0-2 in Mountain West play. CSU and SDSU only played once last year, and CSU took that one in 3 straight sets. Second stop on this Cali road trip is Saturday in Fresno. The Bulldogs are 9-5 on the season and 1-0 in conference play. This seems to be like a key conference matchup for CSU this year. However, last year the Rams took the only game they played against Fresno in a straight set sweep. CSU looks to move to 4-0 in conference before heading to Wyoming for the Border War. So here we are with our top 3 plays from this week. This one we had KJ Carter-Samuels throw a screen pass to Marvin Kinsey, who dives for the end zone. Wasn't enough to get the win against Illinois State, but a good-looking play for a guy who's just returning. Next we have Matty Fouts, top play, diving for a ball, and sets up the set for KJ Carter-Samuels to kill. Finally, we got Hill throwing the ball to Nico Hall. Nico Hall, freshman, celebrating that touchdown like, it was early in the season, and he wanted to get the win, but it just wasn't enough. Well, that's all from me, Rams. Make sure you follow the CTV Twitter page to stay up to date on CSU sports through the week. But don't go anywhere. Justin has all your entertainment news up next.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand, fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back, Rams. I'm your host, Justin Rios, back with another thrilling entertainment report. Let's dive right in. An evening of chaos. That's what these CSU theater students cooked up this past weekend. CSU senior theater majors Bradley Callahan and Daniel Isaacs were very busy this semester, leading the student production of God of Carnage. God of Carnage is a play about 2 sets of parents coming together to discuss a fight that broke out between their sons. The evening quickly descends from civil, open-hearted conversation to utter chaos as the discussion transforms into a lengthy emotional rant on misogyny and racial prejudice and homophobia. All 4 actors gave outstanding performances, conveying varying degrees of frustration, anger, and depression, all while adding some humor on top of those tense moments. The UCA opens its doors to audiences for the Laramie Project this weekend. The play is a collection of reactions to the 1998 murder of Matthew Shepard, who was an openly gay student. The first performance of the fall begins this weekend on September 28th. 21-year-old Shepard was kidnapped and severely beaten on the outskirts of Laramie, Wyoming, where he died from his injuries in Poudre Valley Hospital in Fort Collins. The Laramie Project is one of the most widely performed plays in the country today. The show will reopen once more on October 4th through October 6th. What's in a word? Well, the word avenir is French for future, a future weaving together aesthetics, culture, textiles, and fashion couture. The Avenir Museum of Design and Merchandising at the UCA is CSU's historic costume and textiles collection. Draping in Dior is an open exhibit showcasing the high feminine fashion of post-World War II. These dresses and accessories mean business. worn by high-maintenance types of gals looking to sashay on the runway. But if fashion isn't your style, try the Cloth as Community Hmong Textiles exhibit. You'll find textiles illustrating stories of the indigenous Hmong people of Southeast Asia, forced to relocate due to war.
People tell us that they see something that reminds them of their own background, and they make a connection to somebody in their family who was a textile maker, or a tradition in their family of having stories told about the family history through textiles and clothing. So there's always those connections that people have.
If you would like to contact the Avenir Museum, you can call 970-491-1983. You know what's a great way to kick off the fall season? Try football games, barbecue cookouts, and giant inflatable houses. Put on that orange Rams and wear it proudly. The 37th annual Ag Day Tailgate Barbecue took place this past weekend. Ag Day is a celebration of Colorado's agricultural roots, and of course, who could forget football? The proceeds of Ag Day go to funding for scholarships granted to students in the College of Ag Science. If you were some of the people out there supporting Colorado State football, you likely partook in some of the delicious beef, lamb, pork, eggs, dairy harvested by Colorado growers. The festivities were only a piece of the fun, as the kickoff for Ram football versus Illinois State ensued later that afternoon. I'm sure we don't want to relive the loss of that game. Luckily, Ag Day offered fun games to attendees. I mean, who could resist jumping on an inflatable house? If you're a Colorado State Ram, you can check out Ag Day every fall season. Well, Rams, that's all. I'm all out of time. Tune in tomorrow for Humans of CSU, same time, same channel. Take care, have a great evening, and good night.